走起啊，走起！我们看比赛啊，我们看比赛啊。
Onto the towers and objectives early. They rotate around their bot lane quite often, and of course, to do that, they do have to have tower-pushing marksmen like the Ashe and the Tristana coming from Ruler.
And in the Korea matchup that we saw earlier, it was actually a slower-paced game in which the Korean team decided to take a calm laning phase, just soak and absorb the pressure of their opponents before finding their own opponents, and a lot of that was through Faker. Breaking open with solo kills in the mid lane. There's a reason we call him the best player in League of Legends ever.
Yeah, he definitely is known as the Demon King, but that aggression against the Chinese squad has actually been quite rare. He usually likes to play the defensive side of the matchup when he's going up against the aggression that the Chinese mid laners represent, and Galio should be the big pick for him.
Yeah, we'll see what he decides to take. Of course, following up with that will be his jungler, Score, making a return in this matchup. He played the Gragas and Trundle a little bit earlier, and how he synergizes with Faker has been a big question for this tournament. Earlier in the first matchup, it looked great for their first game against China. Can they replicate that now that China are going to take what we expect to be something a bit more standard after seeing that their early wild laning strategy didn't work out?
And here on your screen is Keen, the current best Korean top laner. In fact, Korea has been known for a long time for producing top quality top.
他们说 King 啊是这个韩国啊，上单最强的玩家之一。
When you go to LPL, the Chinese league as well, so Keen is here to continue that tradition.
And of course, the flags side by side. The People's Republic of China.
我们要拍这个中国队的这个加油团啊。 我们看到韩国队的加油团，但是我们中国队的小哥绝对不比这个韩国队这个小哥长得这个不帅啊！我觉得中国队的小哥一个比一个帅啊。明上次没有上场的啊，这次是明，这是第一次上场。还有麻辣香锅、蓝米啊、西叶、Uzi， 好吧。
playing both for Orange.
咱们中国队加油
And this should signal a strengthening in terms of synergy and a strengthening in terms of trying to play the lane out. Here we have some of the legacy Chinese players with us. Messiah.
刚刚是看了一下中国以前的这个老玩家啊，老玩家。
For such a long time, I'm glad to see him here to lift the Chinese team spirits.
Yeah, certainly going to have to help them out as Ming. He's played 2 games so far. As you said, he is a good teammate with Uzi. They have plenty of synergy.
他们说中国队啊，现在这个队伍的这个团队配合啊是非常强的，就是现在这个几个玩家啊都是经常在一起玩了很长时间，所以配合非常好。
And if Uzi can do it here, it would really change his legacy. Before 2018, he had no champions to his belt.
他说 Uzi 啊，这次如果能为中国带一个金牌，那就是改变他一生的这样的一个命运。 就是创造了历史啊，创造了历史，创造了个人的记录。
Very well could be. A lot of that will be through that mid lane. Xie from Team WE gets a chance to show his stuff with that former prototype, as you said, Messiah in the audience. MLXG will be following up on that. Will we be able to pop off today, or are we going to see him once again get slowed down and denied?
他们说啊，麻辣香锅啊，他今天能不能就是秀起来，还是说还是会像以前一样，有可能会被经常抓呀？然后就是有可能会抓的，导致他这个落后啊。就是我们看这个。我的谢这个小哥长得太帅了，哇！白富美啊，不是高富帅。
Got to see the Jace earlier too, so interesting that we are seeing Team China play through that top lane on the other side of the map and allow themselves to carry through multiple roles instead of going for what has historically been the Team RNG style. Let Uzi play himself a strong carry in the bottom lane and invest all of your resources down there. But as we get ready for this pick and ban, we're about to get a chance to witness the rematch between these 2 titans of League of Legends.
他们说我们今天看的是就是英雄联盟里面啊最强的2个队的对决，然后我们现在进入 BP， 那么 BP 以后啊，大家就是我就小给大家翻译了，我们大家一起就是屏住气来观看这场比赛啊。
all the way to the end of the year. This is going to be the crucial tournament that decides it.
This is going to be the decider, the momentum setter moving into the Worlds tournament happening just after the Asian Games a month later. But already, we're looking into this matchup again. 5-0, the Korean team undefeated. Team China trying to bring it back to them at 4-1 and equalize this matchup. Camille banned away. Akali, respect banned out of Team China. So this time they're on the red side. They're the ones not taking any chances that any unexpected power picks slip through the cracks.
This is pretty interesting because Korea actually has not shown the Akali pick, but like you said, China are respecting the patch and respecting the tier list, basically taking away that strong pick that could go to potentially Faker and King at the same time. On the Korean side, I really like the Camille ban. It is a very strong tempo setter for MLXG, and that is typically how China has won their games against Korea. They outpace them, and they are more aggressive in the early game. So taking away that edge could mean that they're looking for a slower paced game, could go back to the push and pivot that Korea is so known for.
We see the follow-up power pick ban of Aatrox from Team China taken away from Team Korea, but the Galio ban out of Team Korea, this is rather unexpected. Obviously, first picking it isn't something that teams like to do, but this Galio has been huge for Team Korea whenever they play against a Chinese team. It was in the matchup just yesterday. It's something that denied Team Royal Never Give Up at Worlds last year. This is very interesting to see it banned away so early, so perhaps we might get the chance to see something different.
We did joke around about this pick. In the semifinals last year, Faker played 5 straight games of Galio, and we were thinking to ourselves, hey, maybe Faker's going to play 6 straight games of Galio in the group stage, but fortunately, that will not be the case, and interestingly enough, the Rise first pick, this is a flex, a front, if you will, for the Korean squad. It can go into the top side and be played by Faker as well. Both of them are very well known for this pick, and Faker even has a world champion skin on it.
Oh yeah, he's not showing too much information with this. Still Team Korea holding a lot of their cards close to their chest. Team China, though, they're going to have to show something here. It's a very early focus on the bottom lane once again. Varus and Alistar. Huge CC, huge laning phase.
I love this adaptation coming out from China. I think their main problem from the draft in their first matchup with Korea was that they were trying to play the game too slow. They picked the Kai'Sa, which has to scale later on to the game, and they also didn't have initiation from the top lane. This time around, they are going for the explosiveness that has caught Korea off guard in the past.
Now that will be matched by Ruler, picking himself up that Ashe as he looks to challenge Uzi and Ming, and of course the Braum for Core JJ to match that. So again, bottom lane focus. They're still not showing too much information because, as you said, that Rise can be flexed between the top and mid lane, but Team China will have to show their own as they decide to pick up a very early Cho'Gath.
So Cho'Gath is a great blind pick type of top laner. It works well in the team fight, but I would say that this pick is actually quite slow in terms of getting fights down in the early game. So I'm a little bit surprised by that. Letme's best champion by far has been the Ornn. His initiations is what won them the Rift Rivals, but Cho'Gath, though he's a great tank, I don't think he's the best initiator. So this is an interesting pick. I think it's because that they wanted a better laning phase in terms of the top lane. They didn't want Keen just to be able to free split push. So that might have gone into the consideration between the picks of Ornn and the Cho'Gath.
Now we do see some focus from Team Korea against Xie in the mid lane, getting rid of that Orianna, something safe that can try to match the wave clear of that Rise very early on. But we're still looking for Team China to look for engage. That Trundle ban is actually fairly interesting. That's something that MLXG has been playing a lot recently. It's not hard engage with the Pillar of Ice, but it still sets up rather well when you've already got secondary engage, like the Chains of Corruption, like the knock-up from Cho'Gath, or even the Alistar follow-up. So even the Lee Sin ban away from MLXG, what's it going to be for Team China here that rounds out their engage for this composition? Because they got themselves a tank, and they've already got themselves that Varus for scaling.
I think the jungle pick would be one of the big ones here, but instead they are going to go for Syndra. Was recently buffed to have her Q do 20 extra damage, so we have seen this pick pop up in the LPL quite frequently. Of course, Rookie being one of the big proponents of that. Also, Bjergsen from North America doing very well with that pick, and the idea is generally that this is considered a counter pick towards the Rise. You do more mad damage and you can get more poke down. It also has tons of burst. So this composition from China, it has a lot of ways to instantly delete members off the Korean squad.
it also has some pretty strong scaling if they're able to make it into the late game and try to match what we expect to be Korea's more standard play style, playing it slow during that laning phase. But wow, the Darius for Keen in the top lane. He's looking to take that true damage bleed, that true damage execution against that Shogot, but we're still looking for MLXG, and he decides to go with the Olaf to provide a front line for his team.
So Olaf is a great champion where you're trying to run down the bot lane, and if you look at the Korean squad, Ashe and Braum don't really have any escapes. They're going to focus very heavily on that, but to be honest, I feel like on the Chinese side, they do lack a bit of engage. The explosiveness that we were talking about was very crucial for their wins against Korea. So what they have to do is really try to snowball the early game instead. On the Korean squad, I feel like Darius is a bit of a risky pick. We actually haven't seen this champion pop up that much after the Conqueror nerfs. So if they want to make it work, they will have to go top lane quite frequently.
We'll see if Lemmy can keep himself safe. He's well known for absorbing pressure for his team. This is actually the first tank that we're seeing him play in this tournament, as he's been trying to play those carries, trying to play split push. So we are seeing something a bit more standard out of Team China as the coaches shake hands for what could be the last time this tournament. The only way we get another opportunity for those coaches to shake is if we go to tiebreaker and Team China win this matchup, or if the two teams meet in the finals of the tournament, as they are currently expected to both advance to the next stage of semifinals. But that being said, it's now about time for us to load onto the Rift. Team Korea taking on Team China, as China are looking for revenge and Team Korea are looking to stay on top.
And what a classical matchup this will be. This will be the stakes for first seed. They were 1-0 in Korea's favor, but now if China can secure this game, there will be an additional tiebreaker played to determine who comes out on top.
And you can hear the fans chanting behind us, hoping for those hometown fans to take the victory as we load onto the Rift. It's Team Korea versus Team China as we get in the rematch of these two titans about to meet once again. Will Korea be able to close it out and lock down that first place seed, going 2-0 or over Team China? Or will Team China be able to bounce back and bring us to a tiebreaker later on in the day? We're certainly going to find out, as we do have a defensive line from both teams. Neither of them want to take any chances. Ming will eat some early harass from KOR JJ and Ruler, who spread themselves out across the river. But more importantly, they keep their jungle safe from any early wards of Team Korea and try to deny information as to where that Olaf jungle will be starting.
We have seen a lot of cheekiness come out from the Chinese squad in their game 1 versus Korea. They did try to do a fake leash and then a level 2 gank into the top lane. So you could see that they were willing to take a little bit of damage just to make sure Korea wasn't able to poke their heads into their own jungle.
Playing that information game means that they'll be able to play themselves standard laning phases and sets up so much misinformation on where the junglers are going to be, depending on how those laning phases play out. Now, Score will get a leash from Ruler and KOR JJ, so he will be a little bit faster to clear out his first buff. But we'll have to keep an eye on where MLXG decides to go as he picks himself up the Gromp, and Team China will start in that lane for some safety against the Ashe and Braum. Meanwhile, Score on the other side, going for 2 camps so far. Let's keep an eye on his progress, as Keen was looking for some early harass against Letme and is already zoning away from minions.
Yeah, definitely. It's really good to see Score come back for this crucial matchup. He is known as the champion without a championship in Korea, longtime second place holder, but is recognized as one of the best junglers here. He was very excited to come here for the Asian Games and potentially lock down his first championship. He hasn't been able to do it domestically, hasn't been able to do it internationally, but he has a lot of fans all across the globe bating their breaths and waiting to see if he can finally make it.
This would be a huge step up for these minions. But Keen is doing everything he can to deny the minion wave. Rupture is easily sidestepped, but a quick ward in the tri-bush will keep Keen safe to continue pressuring out against Letme.
I think everyone who watched Rift Rivals should be very familiar with Keen's Darius, a 13-kill game against the likes of G-Rex in that tournament. So it is one of his signature picks, and you can see that how well Score is trying to defend that lane. It is one of those champions where you have to win lane to actually be effective. So there will be a lot of early game investments into Keen.
We'll certainly keep an eye on how he gets set up. Already that vision and the early Scuttle Crab keeping him safe and allowing him to expand that advantage up top on that signature Darius. Meanwhile, MLXG, he's left his lanes completely to their own devices. He went for a full jungle clear every camp and is now taking that bottom Scuttle Crab. You can see Score is trying to track him as he's hanging down on that bottom side, spotted out by these Scryers, Bloom, and that's even the Predator used in the mid lane as teleport completed from Faker. He's not caught by the stun, but that's Room Prison. The team trying to decide not to dive, instead just setting up Xie for a strong landing phase.
I have to be honest, that was a little... And they do chunk him out quite heavily in that single rotation, so he will be low on potions. He will be a little bit phased by that, and that could set up a potential repeat gank coming in from the Chinese squad.
Now, we didn't even see the Scuttle Crab finished from MLXG in that river, as this ward does spot out Score. He's able to drop a zombie Poro in the bush for a little bit of vision, as MLXG is stepping up to zone him away, and even using the sweeper as well. So currently it's just this constant dance of vision between the junglers to track where they're maneuvering around the map. Uzi trying to control this bottom wave, and is doing so pretty successfully after having been left to his own laning phase. Already 8 CS ahead, very well could be 11 as these two waves crash in once again, while MLXG is just keeping Score away from that bottom lane and allowing Uzi to do what he does.
The general setting for this game will be bottom focus for the Chinese squad and top focus for Korea. Look at that CS difference in the top lane. Dire situation early on. If you're behind like 20 CS in a top lane matchup, you really can't compete anymore. It's going to have to be constantly controlled by Keen, and basically it will draw MLXG, whether he wants it or not, towards the top side.
He's still hovering on the top half, and he's able to get there before Score. Level 5 to level 5, but Score is trying to track this as he gets over the wall, sitting on the blast cone. MLXG takes over to level 6, and Score steps up just to deny this camp. With Keen right there beside him, there's no way MLXG can fight for this, and it's Team Korea taking their first advantage throughout Keen's pressure and Score following up on it. And this is actually going to be the first recall for Keen as well, as he's sitting on that teleport still, along with 56 CS worth of gold. He's going to have himself a pretty big buy. Phage and Boots to try and expand his advantage against Letme, who did use his own teleport to get back into lane with a Glacial Shroud just for sustain.
Yeah, definitely wants that early mana so he can keep on using his spells to actually CS the wave. We could see Keen was camping very hard around those cannon minions, ready to punish Letme if he ever did step up. It looks pretty hard for Letme to do anything in the top side, so here's going to be the big question. Is MLXG going to go top and try to rectify the situation, or will they then focus most of their intention bot lane and just try to be faster on the bottom side of the map?
Currently, Xie hanging out on that bottom side as he heads over towards blue buff. It seems as though Team Korea have got the timing down as Letme. He can't even step up to the minion wave with Keen putting on this non-stop pressure. And with that Rupture and Feral Scream pushing the wave every time he uses a spell, the only way for him to get close, it's going to become more and more difficult. Now that does mean MLXG has an opportunity to try and break that up top or look for pressure bottom as he's stepping in. That's Score trying to take himself the red buff. MLXG sees it with the sweeper but decides not to follow up, even places a control ward because he knows he's got Ming, he's got Uzi. They've pushed up that bottom wave and they're trying to follow up on MLXG's pressure. But where Score and Keen were successful on the top half of the map, MLXG, Uzi, and Ming are not on the bottom.
I really do like the mind games there for Score. He doesn't walk up and try to take out the control ward, knowing that the bot side of the map is free to roam to his position. He avoids the death and says, hey, I can just deal with that control ward later. So very smart, very measured play. And like you said, the bottom side of the map, I would say they do have a sizable advantage, and with that CS lead, you can already see the ultimate being opened up here. Score is walking into a potential trap.
He's trying to make something happen. MLXG steps forward. That's the Predator. And that's the Chains of Corruption missing, and that will mean that most of the primary engage from Team China has been used, and they're forced to back away as a good flash from KOR JJ diffuses the situation and gives control back over to Team Korea.
Yeah, that was a very well use of his summoner abilities right there, dodging out of the chains of corruption coming in from Uzi. I did feel like China probably could have turned their attention towards the incoming score, tried to nab him there. But it was a very good reaction by Korea to dodge out on that potential gank and the snowball.
Now, as we get closer and closer to the 10-minute mark, it's been an elaborate dance between the two teams. As you said, Team China playing towards that bottom lane, allowing Uzi to open up an advantage. He's 12 CS ahead of Ruler, whereas Team Korea playing towards that top lane, opening up a 30 CS advantage for Keen, as he is pushing in wave after wave, and Letme is floundering under the pressure, even Score hanging out on the top side of the map to make it even more unsafe for Letme, and now contesting this red buff. That was the hawk shot from Ruler to provide any vision, but MLXG and Xie thinking of collapsing. They spot this out, but Score smites the buff and steps away right under MLXG's nose. There's nothing that Team China can do to contest this.
And this is such good coordination coming from Korea across the board. Every time a massive wave is being pushed in by Keen, Score is there to back him up, make sure Letme can't take the minion wave. You have to remember, this Korean squad is composed of 4 different professional teams coming from the LCK, but they still are able to coordinate at such a high level.
And this constant juggling of pressure by Team China is enabling them to open an advantage. It's only down to about 600 as the waves balance back out, but still there's plenty of opportunity for this game to break open as Team China, their characteristic aggression and flair, has been effectively stalled out and stymied. Some of it by choice with the champion picks, but a large majority of it through this laning phase from Score and his communication with his laners to make sure that any threat, any attacks by Team China are effectively denied. But that does mean that Uzi is allowed to continue scaling up in the bottom lane. He's starting to get bigger and bigger, but Keen just constantly trading back and forth. One more attack. He gets all 5 stacks. He's got the execution ready. Keen flashes, but Letme matches, and that will be Keen going down, giving over first blood. MLXG healing up to the bleed. It's constantly ticking, but he survives, and Team China take the first kill.
You could see how much swagger Keen actually had. He danced around the abilities of Letme perfectly, but of course, as Darius, if you're going in, you're going all in. And that's the big issue there. Score was not around the section of the map, and this really, you have to say, was an overstep by Keen. Look at the top side, there's no vision, so this is a very different scenario than the one previously had before. Great flash coming out from Letme. He would have fallen down if the decimate did hit and the ultimate did go down. But well played by China. They did anticipate and punish the over-aggression coming in from Keen.
Now with that presence, knowing that there's no flash from the top laner and having a track on the timer, Team Korea collapse onto the Infernal Dragon, using that push pressure in the mid lane. MLXG is back on the map, but he's only just now getting to the pit, and the Dragon has already been picked up by Team Korea. So effectively juggling their resources across the map. Despite a mistake up top, they're still able to take an advantage bottom.
Overall on the map, you have to say that 2 of Chinese picks have not been working out as much as they wanted to. The Olaf is strictly an early game champion. Ooh, but they're going in the bot side.
That's a knockout. KOR JJ forced to back up. The chains will lock him in place. He's denying a lot of this damage. Arrow finds Uzi. He's still sitting on both summoner spells. Double teleport. There's the collapse. They've engaged. They've managed to kill Uzi. The primary damage is dead, and a cask will knock Ming back in. He tries to get out of this, stalls it out at such low health. Finally will go down, but it's chaos as the fight breaks out. Letme collapses. Realm Warp onto Faker. They're not able to deny his CC. He escapes with his life. Ruler picks himself up a double kill, and it ends up being 2 for 2.
And that was a massive play coming in from Xie. I loved his target selection. He actually stunned out the Gragas on the backside and then used his ultimate onto the Ruler's Ash right there. So getting both things done at the same time does equalize the fight in the bottom side. However, Keen is left to his own devices in the top.
Yeah, and here we get to see that play again. It starts with Team China thinking they've got the fight, but Team Korea balance things out and trade and make it equal.
Yeah, that was a really good comeback coming in from Gragas. He gets the stun, knocks down Uzi, and then gets the great casket to put Ming in a very dangerous position as well. But however, like we talked about, Xie coming in, hitting both of his abilities on separate targets and on the right targets, I would add, really does save that fight for China.
Meanwhile, as you said, Keen was able to take that turret in the top lane, so despite it going even in the bottom, that was against a numerical advantage for Team China. They were 5 versus 4 and still only went even. Keen taking that first turret. Now he's, 37 CS ahead, plus he's got that first turret solo gold. Already his Triforce is finished. Anyone that looks at that Darius is going to be in trouble.
And that's always been the problem when when China faces Korea. It has been the legacy of the split-pushing top laners for the LCK coming up heads over and over again. Every single time Korea has taken a world champion, you should say they have had the better performing top laner. And it is the case once more in the Asian games where Darius is on the brink of being uncontrollable at this point.
Already pushing up to the bottom tier 1, trying to expand that advantage bottom as Xie picks himself up blue buff with some help from Let Me, but nobody can answer Keen. He's even able to clear out the caster creeps this early on. Rupture clears out the rest of the wave, but now that Let Me shows himself bottom, now that Xie shows himself mid, that means that Korea sees an opening up top. They're able to engage and push forward with Score and Faker, but luckily Team China are able to defend and back up to the tier 2 turret. However, that does mean the Rift Herald is left wide open, and though it is spotted by a ward from Team China, there's little they can do to contest it.
You can see the vision line being pushed out very far on the Korean side. If China wants to contest, they will have to walk through a lot of Korean wards. They will be spotted out, and you can see they're probably just going to give it up. Now, this Herald is most likely going to be used in the mid lane, and that would take away so much of the skirmishing potential that the Chinese
got the Realm Warp. They're looking for the dive. As Ruler holding on to the arrow, they've managed to find Ming, but he gets a 3-man knockup. Uzi's trying to kite it out, lands a snare onto 2, sidesteps easily on the cast, and is able to make it look like nothing. Now Xie steps forward. Team Korea perhaps biting off a bit too much more than they can chew. The slow onto Ruler. He flashes away from the stun, but with a teleport from Keen, they realize they cannot match this. If he were to appear, then Team China would be in trouble, so they decide to back away.
That was great play coming in from the Chinese top lane. Ming getting a triple knockup, and then Uzi sidestepping the ultimate, but let's look at Let Me for now.
Oh, once again, all 5 stacks, and Keen is able to heal himself back up, just playing these long trades against Let Me. Though Team Korea are down in kills, they're trying to open up the map and use the advantage that Keen's pressure is providing them, constantly pulling Team China around and forcing them to be the ones to respond.
In future team fights, if Keen has his flash and Uzi doesn't, then I don't think China will be willing to take any of these fights. He's really too fed at this point. If he goes all in, a single rotation should be able to take Uzi's head.
Uh-oh, that's the Hex Flash. He's trying to chase onto Keen, makes his way over the wall. That's the control ward, Rupture, and he flashes away. I'm not sure what vision spotted that out, but Team Korea, seeing this play in advance, able to defend and absorb this pressure. Elsewhere, Team China are trying to reclaim control of the map as Faker pushes up top and Keen catches this wave down bottom. Again, that was Team China trying to take an opportunity, trying to look for an opening, and Team Korea just denying it.
Yeah, and that's a big difference between a pick like Ornn and the Cho'Gath. The Cho'Gath is a better tank come the late game, but Ornn is much more capable of affecting engages. If that play happened with an Ornn, I do think that the Keen would have fell down right there. So, you know, they're really picking their poison at this time, and I feel like a lot of picks on the Chinese squad haven't really worked out for them. Olaf and Syndra are about the early game. Cho'Gath is about maybe having a slightly better lane. You have to sustain over the Ornn, but none of these factors have really worked out. And, you know, I have to say this game going in so far is very far in Korea's court. They've got what they wanted.
Now that's the Rift Herald being used in the mid lane. Shelly will get a charge onto the turret, though. Good auto attack from Ming denies a lot of this, and no follow-up from Team Korea means that the Rift Herald dies before breaking the turret, but a good knock-up as Let Me, he's being dove bottom. He's got himself the flash as Faker and Core JJ catch up. They've got so much crowd control. That's the knock-up. Faker diving the turret. He's trying to get in there. The Rupture stalls out. Let Me survives with his life, but here comes Keen. He's ready to chase it down. MLXG finds a kill, but Keen is ready with the execution. Decides not to step in as Xie, he's found him on the way out, lands the stun, but decides not to chase it too far. Keen steps away from the Dark Sphere as that's another kill. Ruler managed to find a kill kill onto Uzi. They land the stun, but KOR puts up the wall and denies it. Ming body blocking as MLXG pulls in, and that's Keen going down. They trade 1 for 1, but KOR running for his life. The power unleashed is not enough. Score steps up. He's looking for another. CHN finds another. The stun does not bounce back. Score is doing work, but Team China are juggling the health as best they can. Ming steps forward. The sacrificial lamb. He ends up going down to allow his team to escape.
And Ruler comes in just in the nick of time, but it's not finished yet. Faker's coming in with his teleport, trying to chase down another kill.
Stun denies it. Xie has the timing down pat, and it does equalize. 2 kills for Team China, 3 kills for Team Korea, and they're able to break down the mid-tier 1. This is these two teams going head-to-head, but Team Korea just coming out by inches every single time, and suddenly those inches are starting to add up into something bigger.
The big difference there was that Korea was able to pick up the objectives after the skirmishes have ended. The mid tower is down, and also another mountain drake going over to Korea's side. Let's watch how Uzi was caught out. Score, Gragas himself, as he's called in Korea, finds Uzi.
Yeah, flash body slam over the wall before Uzi can react. Of course, though he is one of the best players in the world, we are still only human. We do only have reaction speeds that are so fast before we can get out of the way. And one of those ways is playing through misinformation. But I've seen this play before. This is the exact same one. That turret is still there, but this time Let Me does not have the flash. There's the execution. And this time it pays off.
And nothing really was expended from Korea's side. The ultimate is on a fairly low cooldown, and if you look over here, China can't really react to anything. They don't have the strength or the members to group up and take anything on the map, and this is how Korea plays over and over again. They slow the early game pacing down, and then they use their side lane advantages to slowly squeeze out objectives from you over and over. It's a death by 1,000 cuts.
Those 1,000 cuts are starting to get deeper and deeper. The bottom tier 1 turret goes down following the mid tier 1. And Team China's presence on the map has suddenly gotten a lot smaller. They're trying to react by finding a kill into the mid lane. Faker flashes away. Xie still holding on to the power unleashed, but decides not to let it loose. As still every single time China try to take an opportunity, Team Korea just sidestep it like a dancer, deftly dodging these punches back and forth. But now we're at the 20-minute mark. If Team China makes a mistake here, Team Korea have the opportunity to look for a Baron, to look for a tier 2 turret, and break the game open even more than it already has been.
Everyone still remembers what happened in Game 1. We came back from a break, we saw Mako dead, and 2 minutes later, Korea emerged with the victory. They are incredibly fast in closing down advantages and closing out the entire game. So this really is going into the crucial points of the map, where if China, like you said, overextend and then lose a team fight off the back of that, they could very well fall behind into an abyss, a situation where they cannot come back.
Yeah. That event horizon, the point at which there is no return. They haven't reached it yet. It's only 4,000 gold separating these two teams, and Team China are effectively maneuvering around and trying to deny vision to Team Korea. But there's constant pressure, constant moving around the map. MLXG activates the Predator to step forward, feigning aggression to set up his team with some vision. As Let Me continues to hold Keen down in the bottom lane, Team China group up in the mid. They're very nearly ready to take a fight. Uzi at 1.5 items, very close to finishing off that Gwynsu because he got the 2 expensive components. And Xie trying to do the same as he's got himself a Void Staff and that Amplifying Tome. Could be looking for a very early Void Staff. Sorry, Blasting One.
The question here is, what can China actually force? They're being split apart by the 1-3-1 coming out from Korea. And you can see Xie in the mid lane, not responding to Faker, trying to find his own stuns into the mid. But, you know, Ruler and KOR playing very safe.
Keen steps forward once again, just constantly harassing and trading. Every time Team Korea disappear from the map, Let Me has to be afraid of any potential collapse from Faker using the Realm Warp, or perhaps even an arrow from Ruler like we just saw. That time it missed and doesn't pay off, but it's Team Korea putting pressure in multiple places and forcing how Team China respond.
The most likely way China comes back into this game is if they can land the chains of corruption coming out from Uzi. It's most likely going to have to take a flash from him to actually do, but the timer is really ticking out for them. They need the engages now, they need to make use of their compositions going forward, and they need to start taking down some towers. Korea has not lost a single objective on the map so far. So with that being the case, there is no vision on the map for China.
They're losing a lot of ground here as Team Korea are opening up these advantages by finding these kills. Now Score, he steps up. That's the casket. Xie sidesteps it easily. MLXG is there for support. Ming forcing back Team Korea. This time it's Team China that are able to deflect that pressure with that cask on cooldown. That's a primary engage for Team Korea now missing, but Ruler nearly has his Ash arrow up once again. And at 2 items, he will absolutely do a lot of damage, but this could be a trap. They're looking for Ming, and they have found him. They find the snare, uses Unbreakable Will, and is able to walk away. They're happy to get that cooldown, but as we said, if Team China make a mistake, this map could open up, and Keen looks to be doing that on his own. He's turning on the Let Me and breaking down the tier 2. MLXG shows himself, but the arrow finds him, uses Ragnarok. Keen is ready for 1, he finds it, MLXG chasing it down, and he goes down. A double kill to Team Korea.
And that was such a beautiful save coming in from Ruler. The cross-map crystal arrow, nailing down Olaf before he could do anything to change the matchup. Now, I was a bit skeptical about Darius versus Let Me's Cho'Gath. It is a very snowball-y matchup, but Keen has been able to make it work time and time again. Just stepping up to the tower and taking it down with the Triforce and the auto-attack reset. He is able to do it relatively fast, and he even has a ward to spot out Olaf as he comes in. Great play, great macro decisions, and great vision.
Here you just get to see him chase that down. Meanwhile, Baron being taken by Team Korea over the wall. Smite secure as they're able to pick it up. Core JJ over the wall with the knockout. The Realm Warp! And Team Korea, they don't want the Baron. They want the kills, and they find them. 3 kills and a teleport up to the minion wave.
And there is no response coming out from the Chinese squad. They just had a Keen Darius teleport right into their midst, right onto Uzi. We were talking about how this matchup would go. If Uzi doesn't flash in time, he's instantly dead. That's how powerful the Darius is when he is at this point.
Now they're pushing up to the inhibitor turret. They've broken the top tier 2, 5 turrets to 0. Team Korea with their turrets mimicking their current score in the Asia Games 2018. Now it's 6, now it's 7. They're looking at the inhibitor one after the next. Team China's base is falling apart. Finally, they're looking to respawn as MLXG and Ming chasing down onto Ruler. They get 1 kill, but at what cost? Ming is collapsed as Team Korea chase him down and force MLXG away from the base. Now Uzi is back up. He's able to kill Keen in the front line as a snare finds MLXG. He will die a double kill to Faker, but Team China, yes, they're on the board, but their base is broken.
Yep, but they do get 2 Baron buffs off from the Korean squad, so this is going to significantly weaken the 1-3-1 potential, and they do give themselves a little bit of breathing room. The kill from Keen onto Uzi was also incredibly significant. The bounty gold, able to let him reach higher tiers in his items. So I actually feel like this series of events after the inhibitor does favor China a little bit.
That isn't going to stop Team Korea from, again, taking every advantage they can. That's 3 dragons now. There will be another spawning, 1 final elemental before that Elder Dragon if the game goes on that late. But Team China, their base has been broken. Their map is shrinking smaller and smaller. And while they still have the high ground to retreat to, that's not going to stop Team Korea from chasing it down. As 3 items on Keen, another 3 items on Faker. And Clement, do my eyes spot a Magi Soul Stealer on that rise? Is this the snowball confidence play from the unkillable Demon King himself?
Hey, I don't fault him, man. It's time for Teacher Faker to come in here. It's class. Everyone open their books, their Magi Soul Stealer.
Turn to page 8.
Yep, and listen to the lesson that Faker Senpai is about to teach you.
Now 3 items on Ruler, along with that finished Maw of Malmortius, means he's able to take some damage out of Xie, eliminating that Power Unleashed assassination. But with the Baron still on a few members, it looks like it is about to wear off. They're going to push for the final inhibitor turrets back on the map. Now Ming is looking for a flank. He's got the Hex Flash, but a Banshee's Veil onto Faker. That's the Predator. They're set to collapse. Ruler, there's no one there to defend him. Pinch against the wall. He goes down, and Team China find themselves the kill with the carry dead. They're trying to juggle it out. They find themselves free and are chasing Team Korea. They set the trap, and Team Korea walk right into it. Keen is trying to break out, though. He pulls the prongs, but ends up getting snapped up in its jaws.
And here is the comeback we were talking about. The engage finally coming coming through from China. Ming on the high ground, goes in, gets a double knockup straight onto Ruler, and before Ruler is even able to use his ultimate, he was dead.
And that is the chase, and again, it's just setting the trap, setting up the vision, and Team Korea getting a little bit too aggressive, not playing that perfect vision game and getting collapsed on from 2 directions.
Yeah, you could see Ruler was caught in a very awkward situation. I believe Korea was pushed up too far in their 2-3 type of split push situation. There was no real chance for Ruler to get over the wall, and with their AD carry dead, they could juggle around the aggro coming out from Keen very well, and then take him down as well.
And we well know that Team China's composition can scale into the late game, can match in these team fights if they're able to find it, as we have just seen. But the question is, what do they get off of the back of these team fights? It's still 8,000 gold for Team Korea, and all Team China were able to take was the mid-tier 1 turret. And even despite winning the fight, they still lost their bottom inhibitor turret. And while the mistake was made once by Team Korea, it seems like they've learned their lesson. They're setting up their side vision now. They're not taking any chances that they get trapped again.
Kills don't matter as much in League of Legends as people really think about it. The key thing here is objectives. And if you count all the objectives that Korea has taken, the score is 13-1. So there's been 3 Drakes, a Herald, a Baron being taken as well, and 8 towers to boot. Well, China has only traded 1. So what that really reflects is the map control you see on Korea's side. There's so little space for China to actually operate. They have a lot of difficulties actually coming in and surprising Korea. So if Korea doesn't make the same mistake, it's going to be very hard to get another team fight, and that's how they want to play the game.
That's the Realm Warp. They're trying to catch on to Ming as Faker pops up over the wall. Unbreakable Will and a cast is used to force Ming back, but that's a big cooldown. Meanwhile, MLXG still deep within enemy territory. What used to be his own side of the map is now very scary place to be. The snare is ready. He used the Ragnarok already, Rune Prison, and a slow. MLXG uses a stopwatch to stall it out, but he will die as Score finds himself another kill. The inhibitor is respawning right now, but with super minions escorted by Team Korea, they're just going to walk it forwards. They could be looking to end the game.
Yeah, they definitely are trying to finish right here. They probably will take a little bit of time, just get the inhibitors, but this is a push where they can stay until MLXG actually revives. So they still have 30 seconds to take as much as possible.
Oh, the flash snare. They found Ming. Remember, he has no ultimate. He gets caught and dies. Faker finds an opening. Could be trying to shut this game down and lock first place for Team Korea. It's 3 versus 5. Still 13 seconds on the timer for MLXG. A knockup as Uzi tries to clear out the minions as best he can. CHN trying to come in from the side, but Team Korea fan out. They don't let themselves get caught. The minion wave has been cleared rather effectively. Chains of Corruption, the snare, but Keen steps forward to take it. Uzi flashes away. Let me forced to go golden. He's snared, flashing back to try and survive. Ruler steps up under the turret. No fear in the eyes of Korea as they are chasing down the base of Team China.
And it does look like Korea are going to give China one last breath. We'll back away for now, but that was so many summoners burned on China's side. You could see Uzi getting caught in the double apprehend coming in from King, having to trade his flash for that. I believe Korea will try to finish this game in that time frame of 5 minutes.
Now they still have that Baron buff spawning just about now. Team Korea are back on the map and are securing all around it with double inhib down. Team China, not only have they now lost vision, but they've lost lane pressure everywhere except their own base. There's a very small window of opportunity to get back out onto the map, and we see them taking it as they push up into the mid lane. Scouted out by that Hawk shot and the wards of Team Korea. Yes, they've got vision around the Baron, but this is a very small window of opportunity for them, and it's already being slowed down by Team Korea.
If you lose 3 inhibitors, the chances of you making a comeback are 1 in 100. The odds are not stacked in China's favor. They're being pushed back onto the defensive side. There's almost no vision outside of their own base. I believe they will have to give up this Baron, and it will come down to that one big defensive team fight right in front of their Nexus to make a comeback.
And let it be remembered that there's only a single Nexus turret standing if Team China want to try and take a team fight. They only have a single Nexus turret to deal with this constant swarm of super minions collapsing in over and over. Already, though, it looks like the Baron has been started out by Team Korea. They've got one mountain, they are shredding through it. MLXG, he's ready with the flash and smite. He's over the wall, but he does not get the steal. Uses Ragnarok and will go down with his death timer missing. No, Faker, he seems to be backdooring. He's going one-on-one against Xie, forcing out the power unleashed. Xie did use the flash as that's a teleport to go in. With Baroned up super minions, he backs away, and somehow Team China are able to defend their base, but the Nexus turret still crumbles. Again, Korea putting pressure in multiple places. They're going to try to end the game right here. The arrow lands onto Ming, a snare onto Let Me. Xie looking to get these minions out of the way, but the flood will not stop, and Team China are going to have the Nexus crumble as Team Korea take the 2-0 victory over the duration of the group stages and close this match out, taking first place in Group A.
And what a beautiful performance that was, highlighting everything that the Koreans do so well. The macro game, the control on objectives, the slow starving of the Chinese squad right here. Frankly, once China did not find their advantage with their early game picks of the Syndra and the Olaf, I did question their draft a little bit. I was looking forward to more engaged, more abilities for comebacks against the 1-3-1 style that Korea has been playing so well against China for such a long time.
Yeah, just constantly playing that vision game, playing so intelligently around the map. You can see the fans in the audience cheering them along as they now head over to shake hands, eliminating the possibility of a tiebreaker in Group A. This will also lock in our standings for Group A, with Team Korea taking first place, Team China taking second place.
So their opponents for the semifinals will have to be decided in our next game between Chinese Taipei and Saudi Arabia. That one is still up in the air. But the first seed, of course, you do lock down side selection.
With that deep bow, Team Korea make their way backstage, happy with an opportunity to rest. Of course, they'll be playing in the semifinals later on today, as we still need to find out their opponent, as you said, with this next matchup. But this is a huge performance from Team Korea coming into this. And like you said, these are players from across 4 different teams moving collectively as one.
To be honest, they did not look so hot in the qualifiers. They did drop a lot of games. There were a lot of coordination issues, but it does look like the Korean squad